Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Doug Rabow. Hey Doug, welcome back.
Pleasure to be here. Hopefully everybody's having a lovely Friday.
Absolutely. Happy Friday, everybody. So Doug, we're going to talk about great product owners in a minute, but first share with us what might have been, potentially, the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
I think it's an endless list of the worst things because they're all equally bad in terms of anti-patterns, and it can certainly and any one major thing anti-pattern that a product owner does can seriously derail a whole team. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the biggest anti-pattern is where the product owner doesn't work closely with the team. Where so they go
like absent or disengaged? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so what I've certainly seen, and where I think there's a possibility for, is where they'll go work with the customer and they will they'll provide the total product vision without facilitating with the team at all. So for me, the way that I look at great product ownership, their role primarily is to figure out what problem the customer needs to be solved. That's why I really love the idea of user stories in Agile. Don't define what we're going to build. Let's let the technical people who are experts in building this stuff at least start with the suggestions of where we might go with this. Product owner's true job is a active discovery. It's to understand what it is the customer really needs. Just for a little bit of context on that, still the most important thing I've learned in IT was from a software development director, and he was very, very involved, very much on the tools at a time where that kind of made sense for that role. But what he said is that whenever somebody would come to him and ask him to build something, his question would always be, what problem are you trying to solve? And he said in most cases, he'd usually end up building them something different than what it is they first asked for. So what a really great product owner does is they go ask those questions. What problem are you really trying to solve here? I think so. We are going to explore what great product owners do in a minute. But what was this specific story of the product owner that does not work or did not work closely with the team? How did they work? So the specific anti-pattern there would be the product owner deciding on their own what it is that needs to be built and just bringing the team a set of requirements. So that's why I think the positive side kind of speaks to the negative side there as well. So absolutely.
So you mean like the PO would come in and not bring the user story, but maybe bring, an architectural design and some feature specification. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really where it is. And I don't know how technical our product owners are that they'd be doing the architecture, but for sure, specific feature level design where they've gone really granular, and basically what they're handing over to the team is just a list of features that need to be built. The biggest reason that's such an anti-pattern is you're missing out on all the experience of the team.
And potentially solving the wrong problem, because if you don't understand the technology and what it can do, then of course the team would. But if you don't, as a product owner, then you might think you're solving a problem, but you're actually creating a bunch of other problems that the team would know you are, but you never asked them.
Well, exactly. And that's why I think regardless of what you're doing, whether you're building a product, whether you're building process, doesn't really matter. You should always be considering multiple solution paths. So that would be, I would think, one of the biggest anti-patterns is where the product owner comes in and they've done all the solutioning already. They know the problems, they have all the feature specifications, and they basically just turn the backlog into a list of tasks for the developers to build. These are all people who may have a lot of experience in this field. They may have done this before in other places and have insights of other ways we could go about aligning features or just functionality to better support the user, and in some cases, experience can actually get in our way. Maybe you have a team member on your team who's just going to blue sky it. They're going to go, what if we did this totally
Or
different?
they have seen a solution work elsewhere that they might be able to adapt to a new reality, or they might think how the technology could be applied in a totally different way and make what might be a convoluted workflow for the user a lot simpler. Like, we can't predict what the team will bring to the table once we present the problem. But if we don't present the problem, we're actually excluding their innovation capability and creativity from the process.
Exactly. And for me, that's at the heart of developing what a learning organization really is. And just think about it from a math perspective. If we've got 100 people in our department and 80 of them are doers and 20 of them are product owners and facilitative managers, if the 20% are making all the decisions about what we're going to do, you're literally missing out on the knowledge of the other 80% of the people who work there. And if you really want to build a high-performing organization that builds innovative products, really the trick is finding a way to leverage the knowledge and get the input of every single person in the organization. It just gives you a bigger pool of ideas to pull from, and so not doing that is certainly a huge product owner anti-pattern.
Yeah, there's a book that is coming out soon, The Shift from Product to People, where they have what they call the ratatouille principle, which basically says that not everybody has a good idea, but good ideas can come from anywhere. And that's exactly that idea that we bring, as product owners, we bring the problem to the table, and then we engage the organization and the team specifically in coming up with solutions. Talking about solutions, of course, there are great product owners who bring a lot of solutions to these anti-patterns you've just described. So let's dive into that, Doug. The best product owner you've ever worked with, how did they work?
Yeah, so the real key to being a great product owner is someone who questions everything. So I think one of the really difficult things about being a product owner is, yes, we want you to have domain knowledge, and yes, we want you to have knowledge about how to work with the software team. But part of the job is political or almost sales in a way, that you have to work with the customer to make sure that you are getting the best possible outcome from them. And part of the reason that's so hard is what a customer and where a huge amount of the uncertainty that we talk about in software development lives, is what the customer is asking us for, what they actually need. So when we run big upfront projects, they'll often refer to that as scope creep. I always like to have a little chuckle at our project management friends. To me, what scope creep is it's a recognition that at the beginning of whatever this thing we were building is, that we didn't know everything that the customer actually needed to be able to solve their problem. So that's what a really, really great product owner does. They have the people skills to be able to go, okay, you've said you want us to build you this. Why? What problems does it solve? How does that actually help your team members get their work done and solve a problem for them? And that's probably the most important thing, is a Scrum Master who doesn't just take, or not a Scrum Master, a product owner, sorry, doesn't just take a list of requirements for the customer and tell the team to build it. They actually are a coach to the customer. They're going to take them on a learning journey of, what's really needed here. They're going to go through with the customer and explore multiple different solution paths. Again, one of the things to me that's so interesting in the past when I've explored different solution paths is by having multiple different solution paths, when you go, okay, this one isn't going to work, and actually talking through why it's not going to work, there is a huge amount of learning that comes out of that in terms of our understanding of why one thing is the right thing and another thing is not necessarily going to be the right thing. So I think that's one of the most challenging things about being a great product owner, is just having those people skills, being a coach who can walk the customer through their journey of really discovering what it is that is going to deliver the most value for them, and only building the things that are going to have a lot of value for your customers. And then, of course, being able to communicate back to the customers. That's probably the other really big challenge from a people standpoint. When we live in this high uncertainty environment, if the product owner just goes and promises a whole bunch of things up front, regardless of who gave the estimates. It doesn't matter. The uncertainty is just in such a way of building custom software with knowledge work in general that your estimates are going to be wrong. You're going to end up just breaking all of those promises. And your customers isn't going to trust you if they don't understand what's happened. So that is where I do love the strategic intent of Scrum, which is transparency, inspection, and adaption. And the way that I look at as a product owner, and I do have a little bit of experience working as a product owner as well, is the conversation we want to have with our customers. Listen, we can give you kind of a range of how long we think this is going to take to build. We think it's going to be 6 to 12 months to do this. But if I give you a specific answer, it's just going to be a guess. What we can do is we can show you what we're working on right now in our current sprint. We can show you what's coming next, and we can show you what's prioritized in the backlog. And what's so valuable about that as a product owner is you're able to show the customer every single sprint that you're making progress towards something that's important to them. And one of the biggest things that I've seen where we can fall down as a product owner is where the customer goes months at a time without any visibility to what's actually going on. And then you go, oh, we've run into all these problems. Things aren't going according to plan, but they don't understand why. And that's really the big thing. I think most people are pretty understanding that, we're going to run into challenges. There's things we need to overcome. So what a great product owner does, again, they're taking the customer on a learning journey throughout the development of whatever product that we're building is. They're really uncovering that we're building the right thing, but they're also giving the customer that transparency that builds that trust. Because like I said, I think people are generally pretty understanding when we run into challenges, but if they don't know why and they don't understand what's going on, that's where we really lose the trust of the customer. So being a great product owner, like all things, Scrum Master as well, a hugely challenging job, and their ability to communicate these messages and go through that discovery process is, to me, what makes a truly great product owner.
I wrote down a lot of notes here as I was listening to you. Definitely great material here. Thank you for sharing that, Doug. We're getting close to the end, but before we go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing, Doug?
Absolutely. So for the time being, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I am hugely passionate about all things lean, agile, strategic management. Doesn't matter if you're in software, manufacturing, any environment where your company delivers a product or service. I'm always happy to have these conversations. So please do reach out. I'm happy to connect over LinkedIn. And also, if you have something you want to talk about, send me a message. I'm always happy to chat. Absolutely.
Everybody do follow up, and why not ask a few follow-up questions from Doug. Doug, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
It's been a ton of fun to be here. Thanks for having me on.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. So join us at scrummasterpodcast.com and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more full week of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.